Bill Goldberg versus AEW. On a recent radio appearance, Bill Goldberg stated the following when asked if he would ever appear in AEW. Goldberg seems to be making the news quite a lot at the moment. He says, "The product is too cheesy. It doesn't deserve to have." And then he sort of trails off, "I mean, whatever. Now you're going to really get me going," Goldberg exclaimed. "But if there was a comparable viable option as a competitor to WWE that would allow me to still look myself in the mirror after I was a member of their roster, yeah, then it would be a consideration, but not a chance." Is AEW too cheesy?
Oh, well, Goldberg wants, what's he want?
A slap.
He wants some money, and he wants a big, big win for his go-away farewell leaving. I don't blame him, but so if you listen to Goldberg, it's not would you appear in AEW? It's not no, it's hell no. But guess what? Pay the money, and yeah, he'd get in there, and he'd probably have a hell of a match. So Goldberg, I put as much stock into what he says as Ric Flair, because money will change. Ric Flair said, "Oh, I wouldn't be with them for any type of money." Bull crap. Wave some $100 bills in front of Flair's face, yeah, and he'll go. I don't blame him. You know, he can put up the hard front. "Oh, it's too cheesy for me." And maybe Tony Khan said, and maybe Tony Khan don't want him. Maybe he might know that already. So
he's trying to get out in front and say that he doesn't want them.
Yeah, he said, "No, they're too cheesy for me." But I think Tony Khan may have already told him, "I'm not interested." I think they've already talked, haven't they?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. I've got a quote from Tony Khan, in fact, but I will get to that in a minute. I want to get back to Bill's quote here. So the product is too cheesy, and then he trails off before he says a crucial word. "It doesn't deserve to have... ... I think he was going to say, AEW, it doesn't deserve to have me. So I think he's... and rightly so. He deserves a high opinion of himself. But I mean it's like his royalty, the way he's speaking about himself.
Well, in his head, he probably is. Because they brought him in. Here's a guy didn't know A from Z in the wrestling business, and they brought him and taught him everything to do, and they didn't teach him to say anything because he couldn't talk. And you put him in there, and you'd have him win a match in 90 seconds, and you look at him, he's all jacked up. Yeah, they put him over, and he got over. But once he got over, then they didn't know what to do with him. Mm-hmm. Now that's where your working skill has to come in. He was almost unbeatable till he wasn't. Then all of a sudden, the facade floated away, and now he's not unbeatable anymore. Now he's got to work and try to get over, and I don't think he quite did it. Would you buy a ticket to see Bill Goldberg?
Yeah,
you would.
I really like Goldberg. I mean, I'm giving him grief here, and rightly so, but I still love Goldberg. I was a big Goldberg fan as a kid. I think it's WWE more than WCW somehow.
Ask me, would I buy a ticket to see
I know you wouldn't buy it. Would you buy a ticket to see Goldberg?
Not no, but a hell no. But I never liked him even when he was all jacked up and all.
Oh, no, the first year loved him. Before, and let's point it out here, Kevin Nash killed him with his booking, and it was Kevin Nash's idea. And Kevin Nash has got this big thing where he's like, "Hey, well, it wasn't to try and get me over," and they just wanted to get away from the streak of Goldberg. It's like no one was clamoring for the streak to end. No one was clamoring for Kevin Nash to beat him, and then Hulk Hogan.
So wait a minute, you're saying Kevin Nash is not telling the truth here?
No, what I'm saying is, right, so he's tried to explain his beating of Goldberg. Right, so do you know the story, or shall I explain the story?
No, explain the story.
Kevin Nash gets into booking power several weeks before Starrcade 98, the biggest event of the year at the end of 98. He books himself to beat Bill Goldberg with outside shenanigans from Scott Hall and, of all people, Disco Inferno. So, then, the next night or the next week, I think it was probably the next week, or whenever it was, it doesn't matter. Kevin Nash and then Hulk Hogan face off, and then they do the finger poke of doom. If you'll know that, surely.
Yeah.
And then Hulk Hogan beats Kevin Nash for the title. Kevin Nash's explanation of what they were trying to do with Goldberg was they were going to rehab him from the streak, and then they were going to build him up, go through the NWO, and then win the title back. That's his claim. But then Nash says, hey, well, we couldn't do that because Goldberg stupidly put his arm through a limo and chopped up one of his arteries and nearly bled to death. This was on a live Nitro or Thunder.
I remember that.
Yeah, and that really did happen. The problem is that Kevin Nash doesn't seem to realise that there was almost a year between this whole finger poke of doom thing and then Goldberg nearly losing his arm with the limo thing. So really, Goldberg just flounders for a year. He's still popular, but he's not as popular as before Kevin Nash beat him.
He's known for the streak, and no, they didn't handle him right.
No. And then WWE.
But I was still not a big fan of his. I just wasn't. That doesn't mean that you're not justified in you enjoying him as a fan. But I never found him. I find guys enjoyable when they can talk and act a little bit and be entertaining. Goldberg was he was snorting. When you got in on him, you said, "What is wrong with that guy?" And he'd be spitting and sucking air through his nose. To me, not enjoyable qualities in a star, but they can do what they want to. But I think that has a shelf life, and I think they ran. If they hadn't have done that, they would have run through it anyway.
Well, they would have done, but right, okay. So there were two things that killed off Goldberg. As soon as he won the title, then he was booked as a second-rate. He was the biggest star, and they booked him like he was like 8th on the roster, behind like Hogan and Nash and whoever else they did. I can't remember, Sting and everybody else, Luger, Conan. I don't know. And then they started monkeying around with or maybe this was first. They started putting out fake numbers for his win-loss streak, right? So like fans in the early days would say, oh, he's 14-0, he's 70-0, that kind of thing, because they'd actually follow the house show results, and it was a fun thing for the fans to do. And then WCW, of course, had to add numbers to it. So then one day, Tony Schiavone says he's 81-0, and really he was only 79. And then it stopped being fun. And then they started piping in chants for Goldberg, which made them stop chanting as much. And then the whole Kevin Nash thing where he beats him for the belt and Goldberg was never the same. And then the rest is history, really, with Goldberg. And then he goes to WWE and they do a concerted effort to kill his momentum as quickly as he gets in.
So Goldberg, once he upset about that, WWE didn't want to give him his last match? Or what? I
think Vince McMahon made him a promise, and then under the Vince regime, they welched on it, and they didn't give him a big send-off match, and he's bitter at that.
Maybe. But even though if he went to AEW, that's still, even though Sting went to AEW for his retirement match, you're still going to a lesser organization to have your retirement match.
Yes, but they did a good job with it. They filled out an arena. I mean, you can't knock them for that.
Well, then what is his bitch? Because he don't want to go to AEW?
Well, maybe because it's a B promotion compared to WWE and he only wants to work the A promotion, I guess.
I don't know. Well, we'll see where he goes. I think it could still work. Put him on there, and he got his ideas, say, watching Sting, and do an angle with somebody and just have a match. If you took that back to Greensboro, you may do the same house. I don't know. He wasn't Sting. That was his town, Greensboro, North Carolina. It was a 20,000 seat arena, but I don't know if Goldberg would put 20,000 people in there. But still, you give the people what they want: a big win and a big send off, and it's old time's sake. And Tony may have caught on with this past history thing, and see if he can do it again.
Funny how if he wants to wrestle in front of loads of people in a stadium, Wembley, this August,
That would be good. That would be good. Wembley.
Because then they could hold off on Will Ospreay winning the title until Wembley the year after as the big hook. But then this one, because they've already sold 50,000 or so tickets, then Goldberg could be the big star of this one. And that could be a retirement. I don't know how many people, AEW fans, would enjoy it, but
great idea. I think Tony Khan just heard something here. He might be able. I mean, he could do it if he wanted to, but he may not even had that thought. And he may have. So we'll see. But I do think putting him on the Wembley card would be a valuable addition.
Because you asked me about it before, Tony Khan stated about 10 months ago at the AEW Double or Nothing press scrum, your favourite word. I've talked to Bill when he's not been under contract at times, and I have a good relationship with Bill. I have a good conversation with him, but I've had a lot of great conversations with Bill. We have a lot in common, and we have a lot of mutual friends. And well, I don't know how good these conversations were if Bill's just called you cheesy-ass promotion AEW. Yeah. So I'm thinking, my guess is that Tony Khan is going to release the secret audio recordings of their chats, but in like a year's time when it's no longer relevant. Like he did with the CM Punk thing.
He could do that. I hope he does get a retirement match. I hope he does WWE. They don't need it. But Tony Khan putting it at Wembley, that would be great for the UK wrestling fan. That'd be great. They're not going to see it anywhere else. And this is going to be his last match because he don't take matches. Sting doesn't either. So Sting, he's had his last match, and people in Greensboro got to see this. People in the UK get to see Goldberg's last match. So Tony Khan may inadvertently fall into who else could have a last match, let's say.
Sami Callihan. I don't know. Who would you Anyone could have a last match.
Tessa Blanchard. Oh, she's already had her last match. So, but
I'm sorry.
I would be interested in seeing it.